You know, I'm very excited. I only have 1 cup of coffee a day.
Yeah.
But when you ask that, I'm like, because it's nice to have a hot cup of something.
Dude, it's nice.
Just the sentiment of it.
Absolutely. I switched to decaf after my first cup during the day, and I feel better. I feel more focused. Like I can see the leaves on trees like from far away. I feel like I'm on drugs, but like no drugs.
Yeah,
it's great.
Yeah. Hey, so did you used to drink a lot more coffee?
I was like at 5 cups a day, which was kind of getting up there.
Sometimes I'll just take water, lemon, and a little bit of honey when I want to concentrate. Just something about it just working.
Yeah.
Cup.
They say doing 2 things at once gets the brain going.
Really?
Like they caught in Congress, they found this doodle page, and they're like, "Oh, look at Congress, what a bunch of idiots! They're just doodling all day." And then they found out, oh, it was Bill Gates was in Congress and he was doodling, and they're like, "What a genius! You doodle." So we can do headphones or without, whatever you'd like.
Let me see how I feel with them on, and then I might. You know what? I'll.
You want to do off?
Yeah, I might take them off. But
okay.
Let's see. Let's start with them.
I've never done an off one, so I've been dying to try it, to be honest.
You know, Hello. The reason sometimes I don't want to wear it is because I feel it doesn't make me conscious of my voice. But this is, I know I'm chatty. I smoked a little.
No, it's cool.
But Roy Scovel said something that made me think he's right. In other words, I didn't want to put it on if I thought it made me be self-conscious of my voice. You know, maybe, you change it a little if you feel yourself, you self-conscious and you change it up. Not a big, but I said, so if that's it, Rory goes, what I think it is good for, it really brings you closer than you are in real life.
Yes, that's what I think.
It's this, even if we're being silly or
you're
whatever
locked
we're
in.
doing, you're locked in.
Yeah.
So when people say, we try to make it like when we're hanging out for real, I go, I'm going to give the show a compliment, or any show. Like, it's better than when we hang out for real, because it's like we're locked in with these headsets and we're 100% to be silly or whatever it is. So, but anyway, that's a long story. But zippity doo does it. Yeah. I'm gonna take some cream.
There's a milk.
Hey, 8+ for your presentation.
Hey, I know you're all about presentations.
You know what?
That's almond. This is cow.
You know what? It goes a long way. It makes it more fun. Even this is like, you get it. Like, you're like, you know what? That's a cardboard box, but it's got some style.
It has some stuff in it. All different types.
Doing. Yeah.
But that's why we had, I'm so excited to have you on the show, because this is what it's all about, is the presentation. Like, I met you at Dynasty. I started Dynasty with Jamie in terms of like bringing the business side together. And one of the first things we did was your Netflix release party.
Oh, right.
And I remember you bringing out the pizzas, and there's pizzas for everybody, and you stopped and you're like, this is not right. And you got a little bit of
I brought parchment.
You brought parchment paper, and you had oregano, and you sprinkled the oregano around the pizza, and it landed off onto the parchment paper, and it changed everything.
And when people came out, it's not like what I like to say. There's a thing like something like that or whatever, a change in a room. I always say, I love saying this because I go, it doesn't make it a little better. No, fuck a little better. It's night and fucking day.
Yeah.
Not everything is. Sometimes things, it makes it look a little better and it's worth it. Sometimes things aren't that. They're like, no, this is night and fucking day. And the more exciting it is, the simpler it is to get it to be that night and day, angers me even more. If it's expensive, I get it. Like, if we had $1,800, we could do this, or it's $10,000 to do that. But sometimes it's fucking free.
Yeah.
That pains me.
Yeah, just like I love your attitude at shows. When
did you start?
I did start, yeah.
Okay, cool.
I just kind of roll into it.
Fine.
And I love your attitude at shows, because you're like, you'll shush people, and I've totally taken that on. Like, and me and there's lots of people around LA who are like your disciples, who like want shows to be as good as if Todd Glass was there.
You know what? That makes me feel really good, because I ultimately want it to be better. Like, I swear, the reason I talk about it a lot, I fantasize that somebody starting a show will hear it, and I'll say it in such a clean way. So whenever I talk about something a lot, I ask myself, why am I talking about it? Because I've heard other comedians talk about the same thing. You're like, all right, again with that. So I go, okay, well, that's why, because I care about it.
Yeah.
And I want people to hear it and start their show differently and learn things and just train the audience. That's all we're doing.
Yeah, because it's like having people talk or just the light wrong or it's ambiance. It is a show business. Like we're putting on a show, and I get it. Comedy can be in a coffee shop now and everywhere, but the more you focus it and pay attention, the better the show is.
And, driving here, wow, you keep it pretty bright. I wonder how I look on this. I'm very vain. I'll go back and watch it later, and I could be like, boy, I had a great conversation. And then I'll be like, but I look just like, but maybe I'm critical of myself, but you never know.
You look great.
So anyway, but I've talked about this a lot, but I enjoy talking about it.
Yeah.
And you have a different conversation with everybody, even though I might say some of the same things I've said about this before, new things come out of it. But one of the things that I always, try to look, there's more people that don't get I don't want to say, I'm trying to say it in a nice way.
Yeah.
That don't get comedy. Maybe they don't get the art of it. Because in other words, you're not wrong for not liking a show. I'm saying you don't get the arts at any level if you're talking loud during a comedy show.
Right.
You're that person, that's a breed. There'd be someone else that wouldn't like it, but would never put up with anybody at their table deciding they're just going to talk during it.
Right.
So the anger isn't that that they don't like it. That's going to happen sometimes. It's what do you do? I've been there.
Yeah.
What do you do when you're at a show and it's not grabbing your attention? Well, it takes some level of an artistic awareness to go, well, I know I don't just decide to have my own little party.
Yeah, totally.
Whether it's a musician, so you're dealing with that group of people. There are more people that are in that category. So I get why clubs sometimes don't train them too much, because then you have a smaller pool to pull from.
Yeah, less people.
So you sort of set guidelines. So that's the question. Why wouldn't you just be the strictest, my brother asked.
Yeah.
Because why wouldn't you just, because I talk about clubs that are, I go, because look.
Like the Comedy Cellar.
If they're real strict and and you're afraid you don't have it takes longer to get a good audience. I will say that when a club opens, I get it. In the beginning, when Philadelphia opened, they were really strict and they were throwing out a lot of people, but that's what it took to train the audience to go, no, this is the club we want to be.
And this is what happens.
And that's scary. I get it, because you have a mortgage, you have investors, and now you're literally you just turned away a group of 13 because in line they were trouble. But these are the type of things you have to do.
Yeah.
Jared at the Comedy Addict Comedy Addict is in Bloomington, Indiana.
Okay.
He's like the best on the planet. He sets his standards to a 10.
Yeah.
And the audiences, that's what he's trained.
They adapt. It's like COVID. They're like, you can throw people out who don't wear masks, or just be like, I need the business.
Right.
So you're like, who are you going to be?
Who are you going to be? And the truth is, I have a feeling doing it right usually is the business better thing to do too.
In the long run,
In the long run, it really is. Whatever right for the entertainer, or for that to make it great, so it's usually right for business too.
Well, I think for all things, the long run play is sometimes harder, but it feels like you will be better off if you put you work into your jokes now. You'll be better off than going for the quick laugh or the hacky thing. Right. If you put time into your club now and train the audience, you might lose money in the short term, but you'll be known as the place. And you can't change. It's hard to change people's minds to be like, oh, you're the bad club or the bad show.
And you know what else I just thought of? Trying to be, I don't know if it's fair to the other side. I don't think it's everybody. Different people have a different understanding of what they think great comedy is.
That's true.
So I'm trying to give credit to the clubs. I'm not going to say they're still clubs. They have lighting and they do a show. They might do it all wrong, as I think. But if it's your club and you own it, that doesn't mean that we have different understandings. I like the Acme clubs where they've trained the audience that, no, this is not a two-way street.
Yeah.
And that's really what it comes down to. Most people know they can't heckle, but at those clubs that are the good clubs, they're trained early on. It's not the heckling, it's the loud talking at the tables that will kill comedy. And some clubs decide, where do they want to be with that? If 10 is the best, I know you could go, well, why wouldn't you be a 10? That's what we were just talking about. Again, you're afraid that you won't be able to be a 10 and fill 250 seats 5 times a week. That's really what you're afraid of. Yeah. Or you really just have a different. You like when people heckle. You like to watch the comedians deal with it.
Yeah,
so
yeah, that's your vibe.
Train them not to do that.
Yeah.
So there can be two different types of clubs when it comes down to it.
Yeah.
But for someone that does want, if someone goes, no, I want the club, I want the Acme, I want the, Philadelphia Helium or Bloomington, Indiana, or Comedy on State, I want that. Well, there's a way to get that.
I think people now, there's so many comedians posting their clips, and a lot of the clips are interactions because they don't want to burn the material. And that's encouraging
they piss me
audiences to talk more.
You have to preface everything. There are comedians that do crowd work that I enjoy. They're funny. They don't go for the obvious. If they're doing it, they'll get somewhere funny. They don't need to, if the person has a different name. And of course, I have to say that otherwise, but overwhelmingly, I ask myself why those crowd work comedians that, without mentioning names, and there's 20 of them or 15 of them. So, no one's gonna, but it's the same thing. There's a swarmy, like I just did anything it's the easiest thing in the world to do crowd work. That doesn't mean you can't have fun doing it. Maybe it's a treat, but you can do good crowd work. You don't have to be like a dick with a microphone. I've seen comedians do crowd work that, okay, cool. They went, but the ones on there, not usually, and they have a swarminess about them. Like they just did something great when it's the easiest thing in the world to do crowd work. Not one of them can deny that if they heard this. They couldn't go, oh, you try it. I know, I have.
Yeah.
It's very easy. We had a friend that thought it was great. Me and my other friend go, on the Late Show, we're going to just do crowd work, me and Todd.
Yeah.
And we did it. And we annihilated. Yeah, because we're fucking funny already, and we're in front of a good audience. And of course what about with our acts? Yeah, I do well with my act, but the crowd work, it's not that hard. So there's this little like shimmer they do after I just did something.
Well, you get an electric laugh because the crowd is present usually is like, oh my God, it's happening. They love it. Yeah,
you don't even have to be funny. I know that sounds weird, but if you're in the present, they love it so much, which you might go, well, why not give it to them? Well, because I want to have something that I create, not just creating mayhem every night and then acting. Some of them create this mayhem and they go, what's going on here? What you just created. Yeah. What you just created.
Yeah.
That's what went on here, Do
you think that, because you said something about being present, so you're being present and that's helping the crowd work. That same skill could be applied to your act. Like the more present you are in the act or what you're trying to say, you could naturally be more funny, but it not be crowd work. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, well, it's funny. Probably good crowd work, you won't think of it as crowd work. You know what I mean? Like I had my teacher in the audience one night, and I was doing things genuinely that went somewhere. But what I see with a lot of the crowd work, it doesn't even go anywhere. It's like, what do you do? I go, oh, I'm a blue. Oh, I thought you said banker. I was like, well, this guy walking around, I'm a banker. You don't have to do really anything but repeat what they said in a mild, a scenario of repeating it. But they just love that. We said it, now he's saying it back to us. And you have to make it a teeny bit funny.
Yeah.
But it's usually just like, I can't think of the examples right now, of course. That's the way it always is. But it's something always like, just whatever they said, they misunderstood them.
Yeah.
They always act like they misunderstood them. Oh, yeah. It's woo.
Right. Or you have like rote ways you can go with it that are kind of like it's like you're slotting in tape, like, oh, this one.
You fill in, you have, every time they do this, you say this. And it's very, and they're always leaning on something. Like, what do you do?
Yeah, you lose your balance all of a sudden.
Tired to write an act? Like you're leaning, you're exhausted. They're always leaning and tilting their head. And
I like Jimmy Brogan's crowd work.
Wow, does Jimmy Brogan still do stand-up?
I mean, I saw him maybe a couple years ago at the Comedy Magic. He was opening for Jay,
cool.
and
he's always a nice.
And
guy.
he was, I liked it because it was so nice. He wasn't attacking anybody.
Well, it didn't.
He was just like he had a way of talking to this guy, and then talking to this girl, and then talking to this guy, and then kind of just letting it unfold into this like mayhem. And it was so well done.
Yeah, you don't have to be. I remember seeing him years ago, and I was like 20. And it was really it was really interesting to see him, like it's like tennis back and forth.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, he's just moving around the room.
But
the one crowd work bit I remember with you was we were at I think it was in Vancouver, Yucks, and you were on stage, and this guy started heckling you, And I don't know if it was planned or not.
Was
but
it Rory?
It was Rory.
I was just talking about that. I had no fucking idea.
It's so funny.
And it was so funny because they were really good, those audiences, and the club was doing a beautiful job of like, you know, watching them I watch them. And
because I was sitting behind Rory and he was doing this, like,
I know, and I didn't even know it was him. And I'm like, and then the guy goes, you know, I just wanted to say you're handsome. You after you came back, you're handsome. And I was like, you know, after you look like you trimmed that. I'm like, sir. And I'm thinking I don't know who it is. I go, I don't like when people yell out, but you do seem very nice. So thank you. And then he said something else. Answered him, thought it was, and then instantly I knew, and I went, I went, Rory. And then, how the fuck did you get me? You would think I would know right away, but I didn't. That was
a great moment.
It was just mumbled enough where, oh man, that's fun hanging. One of the best things about stand-up is, and it sounds like so far I'm you know, critical about certain things about stand-up. I think it's because how much I love it. And
you care.
And I do. I really do. And I will say this, like even some comedians that I might not agree with them socially or, you know, something like that, even those comedians, some really nice people. And I met a lot of nice comedians. I think it's, with all its, you know, I don't mind that there's work to be done and we, you know, how we have diverse shows and everything. All that's, let's just keep making shows more diverse. I always say, Jared said this, who owns that club in Bloomington, and I loved it. He goes, booking diverse shows is not a mercy mission for the diversity. It ends up, the crowds end up being better. It's just the way it is. It's just the way it is. I don't have to explain it, because if you think it needs to be explained, then I don't know if I could explain it.
And the shows can be better too, because it's like, it's a variety.
It's, if you go to a music place and you saw all type, I said, why do you need analogies, to my friend Kevin once? He goes, when it's the same. He goes, because it gets the situation out of hand. Let someone. So if you put that with music, hey, if the audience is, if you have a music venue and all night you see all different types of people, all different colors and how they identify, isn't that probably because that's the music that you represent? So if you have a comedy show and you have a diverse, you're gonna get a diverse audience, and a diverse audience is a better audience.
Definitely.
In the arts, it probably is. Especially
like now that I like booking a lineup that goes somewhere, that like is kind of planned. I know you can't always plan because people arrive at different times and life happens. But when you really think about who you're booking and how this comedian would lead into this one, and you can make it feel like an event that's planned, as opposed to like who is up next. Both of them work, but I like it. I like the way Dynasty does it. It's like, here's 5 people. It's kind of curated.
Yeah,
it's going to be an evening.
You know what? It's funny you say that, because they brand themselves, and I think that's one thing a club needs. Look, I used to tell people how to open up a club, and sort of mirroring what we just talked about, that it does take a longer time to get. I now added something to what it takes, and it doesn't take. You could do it with not a ton of money, but what it does take is the time to wait, you know, to keep booking great shows. And to do that, you have to sort of brand yourself, because you make money when you can bring comedians in that are funny, but they're maybe not on television yet, or maybe they have been on television, they just don't have a draw yet. It takes a lot. You could have had 10 appearances, but whatever, you need your audience. Your built-in. I'm going to turn that off in 1 second. So you need to have be able to bring people in, even when they don't know who the person is, because they trust your brand.
They trust the place.
And they don't have to be right all the time. But I know when I went to the club in Philly, the one club I chose was we went there. This is like 1981. I was in high school, and we liked most of the shows. That this guy brought in, this owner of this club, and so you have to brand your place. Otherwise, you can only get people to when it's a big name. And they want 80% of the doors. So
sometimes I think shows think this one person is a big name, but that's just in our world. You know what I mean? Like, and then people just come like, hey, we just came for the show. Like, we don't really, like, unless it's TV level famous, usually it doesn't move the needle, from what I found.
Well, you know, what I found, and that's why I really need to work clubs that have a built-in good audience. Because, you know, a place like Philly, probably 90% of the people are there to see me. And then there's 10% are going to the club. But there's other markets. Hey, I'm still happy to even get to what I do have. You know, I always want more. But there's certain markets, 50% of the crowd is there to see me.
That's great.
But that means 50%, they have to tap into the people that are just coming to a show.
To an event,
So I hope that their built-in audience, that's why I always ask when I work a new club, I look I want to see who they're hiring, because I want to go because that's, besides training the audiences, you also train them by the type of acts you book.
Yeah.
So if I see, okay, there's a good, okay, I bet, or I call one. I used to do that, and then I would have a once in a bad horrible experience. Not horrible, but not your. And I go, hey, you worked there. How was it? And they go, oh. And they said that. I go, oh, I just thought because you were working there. I go, it must be good, but
right.
It's a brand new club, so you don't know
you don't know what's what.
You don't know who had a good or bad experience.
Yeah.
So I will call now if it's a new place and go, hey, you were just there. How was it?
Yeah. So, it's good that the audience can be 50% who doesn't know you yet, because that could be 50% new fans, right? So if you're just playing to your audience is going to shrink. Your audience needs to grow over time, and you have to add people. And
so well, it would be. I mean, to be tremendously honest, it would be better, of course, if it was 100%. And that is the case with a lot of people. And I'm not complaining. I'm just saying, I'm happy for that audience, for where I can't fill. But no, obviously, if you're somebody they're still at clubs, they haven't gone to theaters yet. But when they're at a comedy club, every single show is sold out. Sometimes a week before, Yeah.
They're bubbling. They're just kind of
That means you have an audience to fill those seats. You don't need the built-in, which is a good place to be. Obviously, it's where you end up more and more of a draw.
And has the podcast helped your stand-up and your business side, or is it more for the love, or why do you?
No, the podcast. You know what? First of all, it's besides stand-up, it's my favorite thing in the world to do.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, it's so funny.
And it definitely has helped. It's helped my stand-up get better, trusting my instincts, being funny in a room with just two people. You know what funny is. And trying to bring some of that to the stage. And then also, it definitely helps with putting people in seats.
Yeah.
And if it didn't, I would still do it, because it's a lot of fun. But it definitely is nice to have that, in certain nights. On a Thursday night, you'll say, I always ask, how many podcast people?
Oh, nice.
I almost never forget to do that. And then but it's a reasonable amount. But they're nice. I like who they are. It's funny. People, that expression, everybody's your reality. Your perception is your reality.
Perception is reality. Yeah.
I always hear comedians sometimes, even you're at the Comedy Store, at the Improv, and everyone's talking, and you hear someone go, well, audiences today.
Yeah.
I go, and I want to go, no, your audience.
Your audience
or
today.
Who you're opening for's audience is what it was in that case. Oh, people heckle, audiences today. And I'm thinking, besides the people I'm opening for, when I'm not doing my own shows, they're amazingly not what you're talking about. They don't heckle. I've been in rooms with Jim Gaffigan or whoever it is, Sarah Silverman, or different acts over the years in 10,000 seat rooms.
Yeah,
and
huge.
No one's heckling. It's amazing. So it's what you do. You're responsible for the audience you draw.
Yeah,
because they don't want to go. Well, I know it's not every audience, but I know for some reason our audience is heckle, because then that gives you're taking responsibility for the audience. Well, you draw them; they're your audience. It's not, but you want to believe, oh, well, that's just the world today. No, that's your world. So when the people come out to see my show, and I ask the staff, or if they go out of their way to say it without me asking, sometimes I'll just go, hey, how were they? Mm-hmm. And if they compliment them, it makes me feel so proud of them that they're nice.
Yeah.
She goes, the people that come to see you are always really nice. And that melts my heart, because I'm like, nice. Okay, maybe that means I'm doing something right if kind people come out to see me. Okay, it's a good motivator.
Yeah. And they know you, right? There's the intimacy that they have with you that you might not have with them, because they listen to you.
Right.
So they know what to expect. And there's a level of excitement. I've been listening to him all year, and now he's in my town.
Yeah.
And I can go see him and hang out with him and watch the show. And they're it is a better audience.
They're great. They're a great audience. They always are. And then other people that like you will then hopefully turn into that. It doesn't have to be through the podcast. I mean, I have, I give a quick plug here.
Plug away.
But I'm on a new show on HBO Max that dropped Wednesday.
Fantastic.
And we're in the year 2021, everybody. October of the year 2021.
Yeah.
And it's called 10-Year-Old Tom. And I play the high school principal. And it's so when I read the script, I didn't like going out on auditions, and it was over the phone. I was like, okay, I'm a little more relaxed, but I almost never go out for auditions. And believe me, no one's knocking my door down. I'm just saying, over the years, at one point I just went, you know what? It makes me feel like I'm in high school.
It'll find
you. It makes me nervous.
Yeah.
It's definitely it definitely would have helped if I would have gone on more auditions. It helps your career. You
Right.
show up even in a movie for 3 minutes, and then people see you, and it's
Yeah.
or
It's
a
all
TV
perception.
show. Yeah, and
Yeah.
but I didn't do it, and it's okay. I wasn't scared to wake up anymore. My manager would call me, I have an audition. I get a stomachache. I hated it.
Yeah.
But I would go on selective things that I felt comfortable with. But I read this, and it really did make me laugh. I'm like, oh, I get this. And I ended up smoking pot because it was over the phone, which I've never done before. But it relaxed me. And once I smoked the pot, I was an hour before because I wanted to have time. If I was too high, I want to be too high. I smoked an hour before, and I was looking at the script, and then I felt like, and I knew I had the call in about 30 minutes. I felt like when I was ready to go on stage, not nervous, anxious to do it, because I'm like, oh, I get this. I want to do this. I'm going to do
ready.
so fucking good.
Yeah.
I knew it. I knew I was. I did. I felt very comfortable on the phone. He did say up front, I like your stand-up, and that really relaxes me.
That helps.
It really doesn't it?
Yeah,
Because okay, you're familiar, something I do good.
Right. And then if you riff, he'll be like excited.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And he just said, make it your own. He goes, really? So I did. I called my manager. I said, I felt really good. I go, no, it doesn't mean I'll get it, but I felt really good. And then he goes, yeah, you got it. I'm like, what the fuck?
Hell yeah.
So, and then I went and I had fun every day. It was during the pandemic. It gave me something to do.
Mm-hmm.
And I kept thinking they're going to go, all right, we'll pull back a little, but we love that you're loose, don't you know? When they try.
Yeah.
Never. And I just went and had a ball. I was nervous. Last Wednesday, I had some people over, and I was like, I said something like, well, don't fake laugh. Like, you don't have to fake laugh. I'm not stupid. Like, be excited for me. And it doesn't, he goes, but you said you loved reading it. I go, oh, when I'm reading it, I got good belly laughs, but it takes a lot to pull this shit together. You don't that. Anyway, 5 minutes in, I'm like, shut the fuck up. This is so funny.
Oh, that's great.
I was really loving it. I was so fucking happy. I was
Because
like,
you don't know what's going to happen.
You don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
I'm like, this is fucking funny. I was literally, it's not for everybody, but most things that are little offbeat and quirky and avant-garde aren't for everybody. You just need it to be for enough people to have a show and get a few seasons out of it. But I was laying on my sofa, literally, and not at my scenes. Like, I wouldn't be so presumptuous, kicking my feet in the air, giggling at little stupid little lines that might have even been throwaways so it's called 10-Year-Old Tom, HBO Max.
Fantastic. That's so exciting when something you do that you've finished that finally comes out is great. Because it's like it's a lot of trust, and I'm sure it's a little bit of anxiety. You're like, oh, is it going to be good? Because either way, it's going to represent you, and even though you can't finally control it all, which is very strange.
Yeah, but I get it, and I was so happy. Like, I know when my friends tell me they watch it that they're being genuine. You can tell, like, or they'll keep sending me screenshots.
I'm gonna watch it tonight.
But anyway, there's my pitch for it.
How was the tour with Gaffigan?
Always fun. It's really just absurd fun. He likes to go out after the show and eat dinner, and I do too. I really like to go out.
Civilized men.
It's sometimes a lot of people want to get on it depends on how they're traveling, but if it's a tour bus, which I get both ways, and I can enjoy both ways. Right after the show, boom, you're on the tour bus.
Right.
Whatever, and you either get to the new place at 6 a.m, or maybe you get there at 10 in the afternoon, or you get there at 2:30 in the morning. Then it pulls in front of the hotel. You can finish out your sleep in the bus or get up right away and just move into the hotel. Just the hotel's just for the day, and then right. So
it's a process.
So and then wake up in the new city. So you're in Portland. You wake up, boom, you're there, and you slept on the bus, or you don't care. But I like to go out after the show, probably a little more. I like to go out. So Jim, they like to go out. His road manager finds like these great places.
Nice.
And we just talk about comedy.
Comedy. It's like a podcast without an audience.
It is. I know it is. Me and Jim really love talking about stand-up comedy, and I introduced him to I Think You Should Leave, and his kids. I spent 2 days at his house, and they fucking loved it. Oh, from the 9-year-old to the 16-year-old, and they got into it, and then just having fun, and then being on the just doing the shows in front of really, really nice audiences.
Yeah.
And
are you guys doing like steaks and nice dinners? Or what's your guys' ideal dinner on the road? Is it big and heavy? Is it light and salady? What are you guys doing?
I like I've been not eating meat for a year and a half.
Okay.
But I can find something
How do you feel?
anywhere. I didn't do it for that. I did it for because I think you can eat meat and probably
Yeah.
I just did it for the factory farming.
Okay.
That's all. Anyway, no,
The animals.
not here to preach.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's ultimately I think to be a vegan would be probably something that I would at least what I say I would if I could snap my fingers and do it, I would do it, of course, because I know those animals aren't here for that.
Yeah.
But I just one thing at a time. And that's all. That's where
it is hard to not read. Like once you read something, a book on it, I've read a few books on it. It's like it's hard to walk away from that and be like, oh, that's.
Eventually, it gets to you.
Yeah.
And that's the job. And you know what's funny? The documentaries. My friend Lacey was great with it. She was like, Todd, just watch this documentary. And she goes, I'll never like.
Yeah.
You know. And I was glad she did. That was like 20 years ago.
Right.
I didn't. So anyway, and but eventually, you're right. It's. And it wasn't through the documentaries on why not about factory farming. It wasn't just for that. It was more, not that I'm proud of it, but maybe it's a mixture of things. Just seeing cool, cute videos on the internet, like on
Like
TikTok,
cows having fun.
TikTok, a cow with a ball, or when they get out of being locked up and they jump up and down, and it's weird.
Yeah.
They're not here to be tortured, even if they weren't cute. And it's not that. It's that. Look, it's whatever it takes, and it makes me not proud of maybe my old way I was. Because what am I saying? Oh, just when I thought they were just cows, and maybe you didn't care. They still knew it, but it lets you know when they get punched, and even at punch they hurt, and that's the cute videos made me realize that, and that's what eventually led me. Just seeing all these videos that even if their intention wasn't to make you not eat meat. It indirectly did. Does that make sense?
Yeah, totally. There was that movie, the Coen Brothers movie, where the guy kills people with the thing they used to kill cows. Do you remember that one?
No. What's it called?
It was Javier Bardem. God, it was a couple years ago. And the guy, he's a serial killer, and he walks around with his tank, and it's a thing they use to put near the cow's brain, and it punches the brain out. And he was killing people with it. And that was the first time I was like, oh, wait, that's what they use? It was like shocking.
Yeah. But anyway, so I don't.
So you don't go too far. Yeah.
So don't go too far. It's like you put it out there. So I'm trying not to eat meat, but I can find things anywhere. But no, we go big. Like I eat. Like we eat. Sometimes I get 2 desserts. I'm like, I like to really. I smoke.
Okay.
So I'll smoke.
It's gonna happen.
Like a nice amount before I go outside, and then and then just go to
I find
to
a lot,
all types of places.
It must be cool to be on the road to find. I don't know if you guys are looking for these types of places, but I love the steak or just the family places that have been there for like 50 years, and you go and they just know what service is. You're having a good time. You're not judging the food for like hipster quality always, but it's just like they know how to put on the show of food.
And by the way, some places do both, because we went to a place in Little Italy, and holy shit,
New York?
In Philadelphia.
Okay.
And it was what?
You tell Philadelphia is Little Italy, the real one.
Yeah.
You go, I was all right.
I know. And by the way, I went to Little Italy in Baltimore, and that was amazing too. But we went to this place, and it was like, oh my God, it was so good. And I was high, and they were cooking the food right in front of me.
Yeah.
Like it was the whole counter was just, and there was like an orchestra back there of a finely run Pharrell. I can't say the name of the place. But anyway, it was, and we ate a lot. And it was really good. I like to eat a lot.
I watched this documentary on Chasen's, that famous Hollywood restaurant that closed.
Yeah.
It was so cool to see these guys come and they're cooking like these steaks on the table, and it's like they're serving. Yeah, they're doing like it's a show.
It's like a show. It is.
And then they go to the next table and they cook the steak in front of them. I'm like, this is fun.
It was, what was really fun about it, there was one guy standing again, there was some outdoor seating because of the pandemic, but normally it's like 13 seats, and about 8 of them are right in front of where they cook everything. But it's a very little place, but they had like 8 people working hard. And I'm like, so they have to make money here, because, they're not in the business not to make money.
Yeah.
And then they have a head chef, and then he doesn't. I'm like, what does that guy do? Because he looked like he was like orchestrating everybody. There was like 70 pans up top, because it's a type of place they use like 5 pans to make one sauce, and then they get clean in 5 pans.
Yeah.
And they were scrubbed and immaculate. Like I noticed that about them. Like they were polished. They sometimes they think that, you know, the lived pot gives it character, like a
Yeah,
dirty
this
pot.
seasoned or
They clean them, but
Yeah.
they're brown, and so it's like, oh, they've had a life. But this guy later said, it's just a choice I make. I go, I did notice it. I did notice it. And I also noticed that the bathroom was dark, and I think that's when I won him over. The owner was there. He's had like 20 places. This is just one. And then he eventually, you know, but I go, your bathroom isn't dark by accident, is it? Because he invited us there because he knew Jim. And he goes, no. I go, how many places get it wrong? And I could tell he was like, okay, this guy's not giving me the normal compliments that I know I'm great. But I said, I used to have a joke in my act. Jim goes, tell him your joke. I go, I used to say, just for $1 point of view, like people are going in there and some people will not order dessert because you had bright lighting in your bathroom. Great, you made them look fat. Now they don't fucking buy dessert.
Why would you think about that? Duh.
But he loved it. He goes, wow,
a skinny mirror in the bathroom.
Just make people look good.
Yeah.
Even with that, first of all, it hides if it gets a little dirty. There's a million reasons for it not to be bright. And even if it's immaculate, because you shouldn't, even if it's prestigious, even then it should be dark because people, why get them out of the
you don't want the light to turn on and guys that bing.
Yeah, right, the zone. Then they're in a diet. If your restaurant's perfectly lit and then they're in a, why bring them out of this tranquil state?
Yeah.
Plus it hides dirt. Plus it makes people look better.
It's amazing that a restaurant can make money because you think like,
I know,
you're like, here's 30, even if like you buy something expensive, like a $50, you're like, just like you said, all these people,
especially at a little place, like at a big place, I can do the numbers, I get it.
Okay.
But at that place, I'm like, I was like, wow. And then I was like, who is that guy? Eventually I asked the guy next to me because he was super friendly. He goes, he's the head chef.
Yeah.
And he,
I like how you have to whisper, head chef.
Well, I didn't want to be
chef,
rude.
you always have to whisper. This is easier.
He didn't have the hat.
Yeah.
Nobody.
I go to any restaurant where the chef had the hat. With
I
the
like it.
thing.
Even if it's grilled cheeses, wear the hat. But at one point, I like love him watching this. He turns to the other guy nicely with respect. He goes, because one guy crossed over to the other guy. They blocked each other. He goes, see, like this can never happen. Just can never happen. So you're going to want to prep over there because it was like this well orchestrated dance. And if that guy's crossing over him, and then we stayed while they were cleaning up, and that was beautiful to watch. And they couldn't fake it just because we were there, because you could see how fucking immaculate it was. The true respect for food. I was watching that. I'm going, wow, I'm enjoying watching them clean as much as I watch them cook.
Yeah, you can't clean up not artistically in a place that's that well run because I think it's like time and motion studies. They position people so you turn less to put it in the thing. It's all like, it's a system.
Yeah.
It's not just like, oh, I hope this gets clean. It's like he passes it to this guy and he does that job. And
I will say this also, it's a system that's artistic. It's not, it's like a musician, not a system like if you're at a place that's soulless and goes, you know, when you put that dough on by hand, you waste an ounce of,
you rotated less. Yeah.
Right. No, this is a system like they're artists.
Yeah.
And they're working together like an orchestra. And if you play the wrong note, then that messes up everybody. So that's what was so glorious, because it was a lot of love and you know, Jim's
very people always seem happy.
They did. And I was saying, I go, I'm not just saying it's a show. It's like, oh, it's sort of like a show. It is a show. Yeah. It's definitely a show. And I was saying to Jim, but then they feed us. Yeah. Like we do a show, we don't give people shit.
Nothing.
This guy's doing a show and then he puts delicious food in front of us.
Yeah.
We're nothing compared to these guys behind this counter.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing that like all that stuff can happen. And it's why I love eating out. It's just a great time.
It is fun. And you know, it's easy. You don't have to do anything. You can sort of take it for granted sometimes, but it's nice to go out. Another
show is like music, and I find like you're one of the few comedians who can integrate music into their act, and it's not just a mess. So like, and then to the point where I think at the second time you did the Comedy Bunker, I was like, let's get a piano guy here for when you were there, and you were able to riff with him back and forth.
Yeah.
And then what is it about like you and your act is able to do that so well or so much better than others?
I think I just always liked it. Like, you know, seeing comedians that had a band and the excitement of even going to see bands without a comedian and the way they took the stage. And I always really liked it. So I was like, it started slowly. You know, I would just have like a keyboard guy playing as the audience was being sat. And I realized that really is a game changer. Don't want to put them to sleep. But, you know, look, everybody wants to get an audience ready. We get it. It's just what you think gets them ready. And I've learned, okay, there can be more than one way. It's the new way I'm going to say it. Seriously, there can be more. Of course. Depends what you want. But most of the times, it's some of those good clubs we talked about, or some of the better comedians, whether they're silly or whether they're serious or whether they're political, they're just respected comedians, are going to say, really you want to calm an audience. And that could be like, what? You want to calm them, to listen. Doesn't mean put them to sleep. It doesn't mean bore them.
Right.
But music that will not put them to sleep, but will let them talk and show them what tonight is going to be. Sometimes for an hour, because some clubs let in an hour before the show that you're training them. This is what this is. And then after the announcement, I always say, then you can play an upbeat song for 30 seconds. You can go, hey, everybody, you know, we're really glad you're here, blah, 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 do this, do that, whatever your rules of your club are, and go, hey, and other than that, we're happy you're here. It's showtime. And then play a 25-second, bum, bum, something originally neat that goes, and now please welcome to the stage, you know, something appropriate, not
yeah.
You know, so
that's too hype, because now we're like, oh,
it's too.
We've like left comedy.
Well, yeah, and I mean, if you do that for a band, they have 10 instruments, they can bring it to the next level. Comedian, you're like, just bring something up that's appropriate.
Yeah,
and it can be cool. It does not have to be, you know, some big band song. It could be a new song. It can be a piece of music that you play that is your favorite musician, but there's a 30-second instrumental before the words come on. Yeah. And you start collecting those type of cool different things.
Did you play?
Oh, no, I never did. But I like to sing, and so I just started using a piano as they were being seated. Yeah. And then I went to a piano and drums. This year is the first year I'm bringing the keyboard player everywhere I go.
Nice.
I have 3 people that I use from. One of them I'll give a shit out is Cam Gavinsky.
Cam
Gavinsky. And he's fucking amazing. He plays the keyboards, but it's the comedy that I really need him for more than that. And then I use a drummer, and then I'll put like a comedian in the band for the bits. Yeah. Sometimes I'll add trumpets. Depends how much money I make in that market.
Totally. That's another thing, is you're adding to your overhead.
You know what?
Yeah.
I don't even care.
Right.
This year I decided it's what you like to do. Yes, I'm going to make less money everywhere I go, but not if it ends up people really like it. But let's say it's just my same normal draw that I would have had without it. It's not helping me draw more people. That's okay.
That's okay. Yeah.
I live my life in a way that I didn't buy shit I don't need, so I have to go then not have a band because I'll make a lot less money. I still make money, and that's all my goal is. Yeah. So but then I just started the band, and when they take the stage, it's exciting. Yeah. Like I love to watch the audience as those guys start just taking the stage because they know the show's about to start. Yeah. And then they all hit a note, and then they play something, and it's like, fuck, it's exciting. And then they play as the people leave. Yes. As they're leaving.
And live music in between comedians is the best. That's why the Comedy Store is so great. Like the piano between acts.
It really gives a lot of reverence to the show. And it says, you know, I've told this story a million times, and I think it's worth telling. Yeah. Because I think it might make people do it, realize there's 80 reasons that producing a show is important, even while the people are being seated. And a lot of times when people go out to see comedy in LA, they're not wrong for not knowing I'll include myself, who I am. Yeah. You know what I mean? I'm not like, hey, they might not know in some places, like we said, in our circles. Yeah. Some circles, you know, with people we think are selling out 3,000 seat theaters, and they are, they don't know them, you know, because it's not a household. Right. But anyway, with me, certainly I don't get offended at that. So you know, so it trains them maybe who they're about to see a good show, even by the way they're waiting before it happens. Yes. And that sounds great, and it doesn't sound, but I think this explains that with clarity. This is real. This isn't bullshit. And this is the story that I always tell. I went to see a musician that my ex managed. And it was at a bar. There was a bar in the room. I did notice there was a sound booth. We got like right near the bar, right near the stage. And there was a sound booth, and there was a proper stage. There were drums out there. So I'm taking it all in. And then I note about three minutes before the show starts, or 5 minutes, with a aggressiveness, 5 curtains shut. Foom, 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 foom. And the bar lights went down to blue. And I remember going, oh, okay. I swear, I'm not just saying this. Of course, I went, oh, I think this is going to be good. Because you don't get to just work here. I didn't, have full sentences, but in hindsight, you don't get to work at this place. I got it. I got it. I got it just from that. So, and then sure enough, and then the boom, boom, and it went dark, and then they went, and then somebody walked out on the stage, and it got really dark, and there was a pin spot on her, and she went, let's do this. And fuck, oh my God. And that's what I mean is now, look, there I only found out 3 or 4 minutes before the show, but it still was enough time to make me sit up, and they quieted one person at the bar. That was it. But they did quiet somebody at the bar. Yeah. That's a level of respect you don't get to have. So I thought, well, why not do that from the minute they get in the room? Now, even though I'm praising that place, hey, you can. I hope I'm a good comedian. I hope I can keep growing. I think there's merit to even doing some of that the hour before.
Yeah.
Because as they're coming in, if they don't know who those musicians are, they'll go, oh, this is something. And that's why I think when
it's magical still.
Right.
Yeah.
When I see produced shows in LA and they go, oh, we're going to turn the lights out once the show starts. No, if you're producing comedy in this room, go buy 15 electric candles.
Yeah.
Turn the lights lower. So when people come in, look, for the people that know who you are and they know who they're going to see maybe, that's cool for them too. Of course, it doesn't have to be just for people that, but for the people that don't know, it's even more important because it's like, okay, I can tell this is a thing here. This is set up.
I've walked into shows before and someone's vacuuming and I'm like, I don't know if I can enjoy this anymore.
No, because you're like, oh, it's sad at one point.
It's sad, yeah.
Someone's vacuuming. Oh my God. Where? Or you don't want to say.
But
they're vacuuming. I love it.
It's happened. It's not one place. It's happened multiple times.
And it's the vacuuming is real vacuuming there, but vacuuming and then things like it. Like I know what you mean. Like, you know, and they don't want to turn the TVs off. That's like sort of vacuuming to me. Like, wait, what is this here? But
it's like music on the way in calms them down, and then a great host just is so important for a great show. I find too. Like a great host like knows where the problem spots are, gets the talking done, silences the hecklers early, then does a little bit of act, and then the show starts. Not act. Otherwise, there's no setup.
Well, I might disagree with you.
Really?
I might disagree with you. Do you want me to?
No, I want you to.
Look.
That's my approach as a host. I do a little bit of that, and then I go into a little bit of act, and then
Look, let's say for everything I say, 90% of it, I don't, because, you know, people hear the words that come out of your mouth. And you're not there to go, oh, no. That's why I prefaced up front. There are people that do crowd work that I see and I go, oh, and I enjoy it because it's not going for the low-hanging fruit.
Yeah.
But even you know, okay, so I preface that because if I just go off on crowd work, they might go, what about this person? And I'm not there to go, oh, no, I love them. They just think I went off and give a jab to everybody that does crowd work. And that is not the case. No. So with this is the same thing. Could there be, I have seen people do crowd work and it's not malicious and it's not, the M Bar, which was one of the best comedy, you know, that scene was to me very special to me. And they did crowd work. But there was still a rule that it wasn't. So it depends what audience you're dealing with. And I say at clubs that, yes, asking them, now it depends what the opening announcement is too. But if nothing assembles them more as an audience, you might get a bigger reaction. How are you? How many people have been here for the first time?
Yeah.
It gets, but nothing, Doug Benson said, assembles them to be a good audience except jokes. And the example I give, when Bobby Miyamoto is on the road with me, it might be different at a chic little place where they don't know what they're about to see. Sometimes you can go, that doesn't have to mean doing crowd work. To go, hey, everybody, if you've never been here before, I just want to let you know what you're going to see. And, you know, we have a cool guest spot coming in tonight and just a lot of great comedy. We got just voted in the #1. So just sit back, relax as you see a great show. Bloom. Okay, that's not, but nothing assembles them more than jokes. And when Bobby Miyamoto used to open up for me on the road, I always gave this example. You think, well, what did he do when he told his first joke, Todd? Like you're suggesting, just walk out to the stage like a stud and tell your first joke. No, I'm not going to go. And they were no, they didn't all laugh. But by the fourth joke, they did.
Oh.
They got it. They went, oh, he tells jokes,
right?
And it's back in, and it's not how are you, any birthdays, any of this, and it's right. So it takes a lot of confidence because, hey, look, I've gotten thrown, and I've been doing this a long time.
Yeah.
I've been thrown, and it's like you tell a joke, and you know it's a good fucking joke, and it doesn't get a big laugh. To not knock you off your feet a little or go, come on. But he would tell another one. And I watched it almost every single night. It was cathartic for me to watch, to go, no matter what the show is, Bobby Miyamoto is going to go out on that stage and not be scared and do joke. And I watched an audience go, this is what you're going to see. Locking it in. People sitting back in their chair. And to me, it insinuates, you don't need to be leaning forward. One time I saw Judge Judy go, close your mouth. And lean back. And I went, oh my God, I get it. Because why are you in the first row? Are you ready to say something? And after 3 minutes of Bobby just doing his act, it's like, because they're ready. They've seen the show before. They're going to have some. And then they go. And I always, if I look at that sentiment of that type of person, I go, yeah, that's right. You're not going to be needed.
Yeah, we have it handled. Yeah, I like that perspective as well.
But it's different for everywhere. Like I said, if you're at a bar and maybe they don't have an announcement and you have to settle them sometimes, bring them together as an audience.
My example that I love is I was at the Improv and it was in between two shows. So they did the first show, the 8 or whatever, and then the 10 started. and Ali Makovsky was hosting, and she gets up there, and some people stayed for the second show and some people left. So there's a little bit of audience here, a little bit in the middle, a little bit over here, and she starts doing jokes. And then she's like, wait, I'm just going to sacrifice a little bit of my set to make this a better room. She's like, can you guys move here? Can you guys move here? Can you guys move here? Boom, boom, boom. And then she's like, wait, how are we? Are we better now? Blah, blah, blah. Because like her mind was like, get a great show.
And that's so, you know,
and
that's good for her. Because it makes a big difference.
Such a big difference.
It's not just make it a little better. Someone doing that can like, oh, it calms me when I see, because it's usually me. And when somebody else does it. She must have seen
you before. No, I don't know if you know her well, but like.
Some people have good instincts. You know, it's just a different, you know, the people that don't do anything, it's not like they're bad people, but some people, it pains them more to watch like, you know, like I was with a comedian once and he goes, I was at a club once and it's when I learned about black tinfoil. You know what black tinfoil? Light and lighting. It's like thicker tinfoil, but it's black. And you use it, you can wrap it around a light that, he goes, Todd, I didn't even know this then. I wasn't aware of it. When you're not aware of it, you're not aware of it. Watching the audience be lit because the cans are too wide and the audience isn't. He goes, it pained me. So I have this black tinfoil.
Black tinfoil?
Yeah.
It's not a Drake album?
What?
It's not a Drake album?
It sounds like it could be.
Yeah.
And I don't know why we started talking about this, but anyway, fuck.
Audience and lighting them and bringing them together. And
oh, yeah, that he was right.
Yeah.
He goes, when you take 20, nobody went to the show and goes, you know what I like? If you're sitting like in the first 3 or 4 rows or even on the side, like the lights come right on you.
Yeah.
You know, why are you, so the black tinfoil, I was like, oh, I cared about the show. I was like, and so.
Yeah, I'm going to carry some with me now. One thing I wanted to ask is like the business today, it's like, usually you have to have comic/podcaster. That's how you are a unit of, you know, show business, comic/actor. What do you think it is for this next generation? Because like podcasting feels saturated, acting is challenging. Do you still think these old school, like you're a comic and this, can you still make it as a comic only? Like what are your takes for this next generation coming up? Is it comic TikTok only?
I'll tell you this, whatever it is. So I think this is like one of my prefaces that might be necessary.
Yeah.
It is what it is. And complaining about it, even if you're right. I love saying even if you're right. Well, what do you mean right? People have theories.
Yeah.
A lot of times these theories are that they're fucked because everything's changed so much.
Yeah.
Now you can't. And so what they're saying is it's going in a bad direction because they wouldn't be saying, boy, things are changing in a real good way. Sometimes it could even help me, but I don't know. I don't feel like changing. It takes too much work.
Too much work,
So, but I don't think they're thinking that. I think they're thinking that's not good. Otherwise, they would be apt to want to join this new thing.
Yeah.
So whatever it is. So, you know, it's even if you're right, it's not going to change. And you're echoing the same thing that comedians have said. Oh, now with this, now you can't, now you have to, this has been going on. I don't need to go in for what the final sentence was, but even back from when I started in the 80s, I watched comedians like Steve Allen talk about, oh, and now today, if you don't, and with this today. So if you really want to do comedy, you'll fucking figure out a way to do it. And the styles are going to change. Yeah. And I think sometimes as you get older, you feel like I finally got good at this and now I got to do that.
Right.
But guess what? There's the good of it too. And you know, like whether it's, you know, I remember with Vines, a lot of comedians were like, oh, now you can't be funny in 10 seconds.
Right.
Go look at the Vine compilations now. And it wasn't that, it was that they're funny.
Some of them are great.
That
guy from Saturday Night Live, I forgot his name, but like there's one guy was like, they were incredible.
They were great. And now that someo's put all the good ones together, believe me, it's not just 28 of them that are good.
Will Sasso, his were
unbelievable.
Fucking amazing.
Was it 10 seconds?
Something like that.
Right. So the point is, and then it was podcasts that came along. Everyone's like, no. And by the way, podcasting, people go, it's so saturated. Why would I want to do it? I go, then why are you doing stand-up? That's just as saturated.
Everything is saturated.
But there's also more work to be had.
Yes.
There's more comedians.
The pie is bigger.
The pie is split up in a good way.
Yeah.
Because yes, maybe back then there weren't as many comedians, but also like 4 of them, you know, there was 5 comedians and everybody knew who they were. You go back years ago. Now it's divided up. Yes, there's negative, but you're so much more apt to deal with what might be negative if you think there's any positive.
Right.
And I think that comedy now is like, and if you're not really there, what's it called? Submerged in it, you don't really know what's going on. So you go like, if people that go, oh, TikTok. Whenever I hear anybody go, oh, TikTok, it's just dancing, I go, oh, because you just listen from afar. TikTok, if you give it some time, you learn what's good over there. There's things that make me jealous.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, that's such a cool,
Right,
simple
yeah,
idea.
yeah.
Forget about the other shit. And some of that I like too, I'll be honest.
Yeah.
But there's stuff over there that's really creative. And I love it. I really do love it. I know there's bad too, but there's bad movies. There's bad television. There's bad everything. There's bad documentaries. But if you know the brilliance of it, you find that, and that's what you watch.
That's such a refreshing take.
Because it's the real take.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's someone that's not angry, and it is hard to change. But let me I said this, it came out of my mouth right about a month ago. Growing willingly, changing, growing, whatever you want to call it, willingly, is so much more fun than not growing angrily. And the reason I go, well, why can't you not grow happily? Because they don't, because you're angry.
Yeah.
I mean, that makes sense. I'm not mocking them. If you're not growing, it's because you don't think it's worth growing. And this thing that is not worth learning about, new comedy, a way to talk, things to say, it's all bullshit.
Getting better, yeah.
And then you want to learn it? Sure, it's a pain in the ass when you're being told you should learn it and it's bullshit to you.
Right.
So you're not going to grow and you're going to be angry.
Yeah.
But being a part
and you'll give
of
up
it,
quickly.
Yeah. Just blame it on, it's everything's bullshit, everything. That's why when I meet new comedians, I'll be very honest. It's a two-way street when they tell me they think I'm funny, because I also am happy they think I'm funny, because it means everything to me to make a new generation of comedians think, that you still,
you're still the guy.
You still know what you're doing up there.
Yeah.
You're still growing. You're still evolving. You're
Right.
still, and I think I have something to learn from them. But comedy is at a great place. When I hear people say you can't say anything anymore, look, I'm not going to play coy. I know what they can't say,
right.
but it makes me want to play dumb and go, what? Were you around in the 70s or 80s? What you couldn't say?
Yeah, it was clean.
It was you couldn't say a lot. Oh, let alone that when
for TV,
when Rodney and different people came along with specials like that. But what you couldn't say and on stage, even at comedy clubs, how diverse it was, or the things there was a lot of stipulation. 30 years ago, you couldn't talk about not believing in God, or now you can talk about believing in God or not believing in God. So I see it today being so much more. You can say so much, and it's so exciting. But then you go, hold on, come on now, Todd. How are they over on the other side that disagrees with you going, what? You can't say anything because it's what you want to say. And a lot of times they'll go, there used to be rebels. There used to be people that were, you're
in one area.
I'm sorry, I want to go, those rebels that used to be are the ones you're mad at.
Yeah.
You think they're not the rebels because you don't agree with them. Those people that you're mad at that are taking comedy a different direction, the history is going to write them the ones that helped comedy. It's not going to go back and go, and then there was a group of comedians. What are the odds that comedy evolved to 1988 or 1992?
And just stopped.
And then just stopped. Of course it's going to keep growing. This sounds silly.
100 years from now, the robots will be doing it, and then we'll be like, damn robots.
It's all, you know what? I say it because I want to give the other side of it.
Yeah.
I want to be heard. And I've said this before, and I try to say it as much as I can. So someone hears someone else fucking saying the opposite of what you hear a lot of people say. And, it is a lot of fun growing, and it's hard to learn new things. But if you think it's worth it, it's a little easier.
Totally. When you said like, it is what it is, it's like, it's with like with Instagram, it went down the other day, or yesterday, or 2 days ago. And it was great. I felt better. And I was like, my life would be better if I just deleted Instagram. But then I'd be doing kind of exactly what you're saying, which is pretending like this new thing doesn't exist and ignoring it.
Not just taking the good out of it. Like I used to say as a joke in my act when somebody goes, I don't watch TV. It was a joke from like 25 years ago. I used to have where I would say, it didn't really happen, but I would say my cousin, she really would say it, but I didn't say this. I go, I think I learned to say, don't lie. Just go, you know what I should have told her, instead of going, I told her this, and you're lying. So I go, probably split the difference on those. But anyway, I think in the joke I said, I should have said to her, don't say that you don't watch TV. It makes you come off like not educated.
Yeah.
Because she'd be like, in her head to me, she'd be like, what? That's exactly why I did it. Now say, I'm very selective in what I watch on television.
Oh, I like that.
There you go. And that's how you should be with any, whether it's books or whether it's,
Instagram, I'm selective with my TikTok.
Selective with it. I learned to not go down rabbit holes of negativity, or to swipe something if it's a car accident that I don't need to watch, the part that comes up. But a lot of beautiful things come up. And I'm so really angry. It just is exhausting, the negative thing. And it could be you. Once people know my opinion, they don't really around me disagree with me because they know how I feel, even if you're sitting across from me right now going, I could say that, but you could stop. You don't have to keep giving those boring talking points. I'm not saying you do, I'm just saying there's so much negativity on the internet. We get it, but I never hear you talk about the positive.
Yeah.
And that is concerning to me. Or have you ever left a positive comment? I've saw just heartbreaking things
like
posted.
Positive, this was great.
Or let me tell you something, I didn't either. In other words, you know when you see someone post a video and somebody goes, I'm so proud of you, or it's like some little kid makes the best speech at it, and you're like, that kid is adorable, he's going to be successful. And I look at the comments and I go, I've never done that.
Yeah.
So I started to. I'm like, send some positive energy. But at least I'm not always saying how negative it is. So I ask anyone that says, it's so negative, it's so negative. Okay, when's the last time you left something positive on it?
Right.
But at least participate in that. And most people, if they're honest, would go, I never do. Well, go read some of the things that people write. People can be nasty, but they can also be amazing.
Yeah.
And I see it on there a lot. If I thought it was 3% of it, I wouldn't mention it. But a lot of good happens from the internet. And
it's a whole range of human emotions on there. And it's kind of, the internet gives you what you seek out. So if you seek out negativity, it'll give you, and we learned that. If you seek out hateful stuff, it gives you, it feeds you more. If you seek out positive stuff, I hear it all the
time, everywhere, every TV person, there's maybe the bigger they are, the more they see some of the wrath of that hate. I do get it, but I'm not delusional to what's going on out there, and I think a lot of good things, a lot of kind things, people can express themselves. What's funny to me when I see a comedian and he goes, "Oh, now any idiot can say whatever they want." And I go, that's us. That's us. Podcasting is any idiot can say anything. I'll include. So it's like Jen Kirkman said, it's like when you're on the highway, because a lot of these comedians that complain about it, they got famous not through traditional television. For that, I wouldn't include this. Include what I'm saying.
Yeah.
But they got famous from their podcaster.
Right.
A lot of their clips on the internet went viral. So on non-traditional. So
algorithmic fame.
Right, which is great, which is fucking great, but it's basically because anybody can put anything on the internet. But now you're going, but now everybody else gets to, she goes, that's like when you're on the highway on a Sunday and you go, where are all these fucking people going on a Sunday? But you go, wait, I'm going somewhere on a Sunday. But you're like, well, I'm not talking about myself. It's good. I can put anything on. Well, people get to react. And if you thought there was a plus to that, which I get it, they don't. I think people can be wrong. They can be wrong sometimes. People can have an outcry and I don't agree with it. But guess what? They're not always fucking wrong. Matter of fact, they're right a lot. They're really right a lot. When I get to the meat of it and go, what did this person do? All right, that's not so great. So I think they're right a lot, and I saw what comedy was in the 80s. There were a lot of brilliant fucking comedians in the 80s, but there was also a lot of bullshit, and I don't even want to use the word sexism, but it falls on deaf ears, just horrible stereotypes and homophobic and sexist, and it oozed if you go back and look at that stuff. And the brilliant ones didn't always exist. I had stuff I was embarrassed about, and I went, I don't want to do that in the future. Mm-hmm. I don't want to so I just try to go, okay.
It's like projecting yourself forward a bit, being like, I don't want to be that later. Like, I don't want to be embarrassed of that again.
I don't want to be, exactly. Yeah. And it's, obviously you should do this all from your heart because you're decent, but hey, a little bit of accountability, if that's what keeps you on the up and up, and go, you're going to leave a body of work. And even if you don't have a podcast or a comedian, you still talk, your nephews and nieces.
There is a body of work.
People leave your words. So I try to
that kind of brings it back to the beginning, which was think about the long term. Project yourself forward in the long term. Are you going to be proud of what you accomplished? Are you going to be proud of the clips you put up and proud of the comedy you did?
These issues we're talking about are more human issues than really just the comedy.
They are, absolutely.
The base of all of them is we're talking about growth, because most people, like we said, they don't want to go back to comedy from 1920. They don't want to go back. They want to go back to the year that it was where they liked it, and that's what inspired them. And they're still doing that. Yeah. So that's why they crave it so much, because it's when they liked it. I saw comedy in 1992. That's what I want to do. Now I'm finally good at it, and now it's moved to here. But the comedy you like to do wouldn't have been that if they stuck from what it was from the 70s.
And nobody wants to see you doing the guy you liked that you...
You'll have an audience, but guess what? If you don't have a big enough audience to, hey, look, things change, and it sucks, and it's hard. And it's hard to learn new things. I get it. But if you thought there was a plus side to it, you'd be less angry. That's the point I've tried to make.
Yeah. That projecting yourself forward and thinking about the long term, it kind of works for everything. It's like...
It does.
If I would have... I wish I would have saved more money throughout my life. Sometimes you have to think about or I wish I would have drank less, or all these different things that you could really project yourself forward and try to be the person that looks back on their life and said, oh, this is what I wanted to do and I did it.
You can correct a lot of things by just not being
like thinking, inverting.
Right.
Thinking backwards. Yeah.
Right. By saying, like, I think this is what you're talking about. You know, like I used to say, well, you can change your past is your past, but you can change your past. Because if for the next year you live this way, then your past is...
Oh, that's good. Yeah.
That's your past. That year. Yeah, you can go on.
That's amazing. I've never heard that. Yeah, you can change your past.
You can change your past. I mean, you could go your past, but your past that people would know from.
Yeah.
What was your energy? What was your contribution to all your friendships? After you've been good for a year and you've cleaned up, you don't have to be perfect, but you're living a different life. Really, the last 300 and some odd days, that's your past. You've been pretty fucking good.
Dude, we solved time travel.
We solved.
What are your goals for this next year?
Just to really work. All I want to do is that live show with the band.
Oh yeah,
that's why I'm bringing somebody.
Are you doing one in LA?
I am. I just had a week's worth of shows I had to cancel, but I'm going to rebook them, and I want to get that show so tight. So that's why I'm bringing the keyboard player everywhere I go. Everywhere I go, because it's a keyboard, it's 2 iPads, it's like this machine of knowledge that is next to you for your comedic ability. The drummer and the other whatever instrument it is, they'll follow his lead. And I usually set up on a Thursday or night before the show. That way we can do a rehearsal with no show. Just enjoy the night. I like to smoke. Most of the guys in the band usually do most of the time. And then we'll just have a chill night rehearsing. But it's to get that show as tight as it could be. And, there's one other specific goal is that, and I'm really saying it so it comes, so I don't.
That's why we put it on, so it comes true. You put it in the universe.
Yeah, so I don't disappoint. Is that sometimes the type of show I do, look, it's basically stand-up. That's what I tell the audience sometimes. I go, look, folks, it's basically stand-up. Relax.
Yeah.
But let's say at 10, the 10 is the best audience in the world. 10 is like the best. I'm never going to have trouble with them because I'm always in a good mood when I'm on stage. I'm always excited to perform.
Yeah.
And if I'm in front of a 10, it's going to go, my worst show is going to be pretty fucking good. But a 7, let's say a 7, let's not go all the way down to a 3 because I don't think I could manipulate a 3 into anything. I'd just be miserable on stage. But let's say a 7. 7 is not a bad audience.
No.
But they're not, I still got to be a little tighter with the act. And I don't have to be what I say, meta. A lot of my things end up wanting to be meta on top of meta. That's on top of meta, let alone meta. But now
like the receipt we did, of Bar Lubitsch.
Right.
It was like 3 levels of meta.
So I can't, right. So I can't, it's funny, I forgot about that. So I can't, I said, I'm not going to do that. That when you go out and there are 7, you can tighten up and still do who you are.
Yeah.
But be prepared. Don't, and I had a few nights that I would have maybe thrown in the old days, but I didn't. I went, okay, Todd, before you do that bit, that's a little weird. Do 10 minutes of this. Go to these 2 bits. And
are you on stage? Is this rolling in your head?
I do have a binder in front of me. I started doing that and I never stopped. And I tell the audience right up front, I go, hey, by the way.
Is it on a music stand?
It's on a music stand.
I love it.
And it's on binder. I try to make it very unassuming. I print the pages backwards, so most of the page is black and the letters are cream.
Yeah,
so it doesn't I want it to be on, it's unjarring.
Yeah. Oh, the big felt is something I took from you too. You're like, why are you writing your notes with this take a fucking Sharpie and write it in and now my set list looks like it. I can see it from across the room.
Right, and you put it down on the stool and you don't have to pick it up.
I don't even have to, I can just glance at it. And keep going.
That's funny. But then I have the notes.
Yeah.
So I tell them up front, I go, these are not new jokes, but it's just a little easier for me. I try to stay on the beaten path. This gives me my beaten path. I don't want it to look clinical.
Yeah.
So I hope it doesn't feel clinical to you because it doesn't feel clinical to do it. I just say exactly that. And my brother told me I should say that because he goes, I think some people think, oh, is it new stuff? And I go, no, this is the good stuff. I go, if it doesn't get a laugh, I blame you. So I have and then sometimes I'll just skip a page. I'll just go, okay, come back to that. And then sure enough, if I commit and I do the next page, I got them. And I don't want to do this either, but I think this is interesting. One night, my niece and nephew were in Philadelphia. And of course, I want to do good. Of course I do. That means more to me than to them to think I'm funny and finally see me. They're like 9 and 12.
Yeah.
And my friend goes, what if you did bad in front of them? Now, keep in mind, I could say what I'm about to say at a good comedy club. But it doesn't mean the crowds are going to be good every night. But you're still at a good comedy club that there's policing to be done. They're going to be on it. Let's say it's not a great crowd. Let's say it's a bad crowd. I'm still at a good club. So I said, oh, it won't go bad because I won't let it. He goes, what do you mean? I go, I've had situations like that before. I will not let it go bad. I will do whatever I fucking have to do to make it go good. And he lovingly, he goes, why don't you do that every night? I go, and I started laughing. I was like, oh my God, that's a good question. Because,
that's so funny.
Because there is certain compromising that will bastardize your craft. But I think the lesson learned is I could meet in the middle.
And there are I think it was Moses Storm. We were at a show and like it was just everyone came off stage and was like, they're not good. Oh, watch out. They're not great. They're good. And I just saw the twinkle in his eye get brighter and brighter. He's like, I'm going to make them good. And he fucking did.
Oh, I love it.
You just saw him get like riled up and like, I'll take the challenge.
I love Moses Storm.
Yeah.
He's like one of those guys. You know, ever hang out with these comedians? You see them. Like, remember the night we were hanging out behind Bar Lubitsch?
Yeah.
That night, I was fucking, you guys were the best. You were like all in a good mood and doing bits and everybody, it was so, I got in the car, I felt like $1 million. I was like, that was really fun hanging out with everybody.
I told someone that like going back to Bar Lubitsch out of everything that's come back was like the most moment that felt like comedy was back. Cause it just something about like everything else is back now too, feeling. And it was just great. Yeah. And running into friends and having a great night. And so.
Even Eddie Delaseppe with his hair.
Oh, the perfect hair?
Yeah, but I always tell him, I go, I'm going to pull your hair. I don't know what it is. When somebody has good, thick hair, I just want to pull it just to see what it feels like, the density.
Run your hands through it?
And just pull it. Just go, let me see that here. Pull. Last time I saw him, he goes, Todd, you look really good. Now me.
Yeah.
Let's not compliment him because his problem is he can't bring it to the stage. I told him that, but he won't listen. I know he'll listen to this.
Where do people find you on your Instagrams and everything?
No, I'm too tired to talk about that. No, I'm on Instagram. I'm on. Of course, I'm still on my podcast. That's all I need.
The Todd Glass Show.
The Todd Glass Show, and my Netflix special, Act Happy.
Oh, it's so great. Check it out, Happy. Todd, it was so amazing to have you on here. I feel like it's been 2 years in the making because this podcast is 2 years old, and we talked about you, Jamie and I, on the second show, and to have you here is like life coming full circle. So I really appreciate you.
It was fun.
And if you want to run the your show, I just have the new show, Comedy Bunkers, now at not Bar Lubitsch, at Kibitz Room. And it's great.
Oh, wait, you mean at
Cantor's.
And where's the stage? That stage is up against the wall.
Yeah.
Because one time when I went there, I'm going to say this on the podcast.
Say it.
I told the girl who was, running the comedy thing, I'll do it for you. I'll go to Lowe's. I know what you need. But they needed to put clamp-on lights on the stage because there was no lighting on the stage.
We changed the lights. We put a new curtain so it angles the stage. We arranged the chairs. We put candles on the tables.
Good for you.
It's going to be great.
You know what? I love that you're doing it right there because it is like, to me, the ultimate experience to go, and I've done it there once when it was a bad show and I still ended up having fun.
Yeah.
But, and then go eat at Cantor's.
Yeah.
To be able to do the show, and if it's going to be fun, and then go right next door and eat
have a great meal.
Have a great meal.
The show, we've only done 2 so far, but this is how I know it's going well. The busy people at the bar who are not there for the comedy show, they're there to drink, stop what they're doing and watch the show. And I'm like, okay. Because on Monday Night Football, mind you, they stopped watching the game when they paid attention to the show. I'm like, okay, we have something.
Yeah, but and I'm sure the way you set it up, it says, wait, do they leave the football game on?
They don't. They'll turn the volume down. They won't turn it off.
All right, well.
I'm working on them.
At least the more you bring in people and do a good crowd, the more if you ask for things, you got to earn the right to ask for some of those things. Until then, you don't want to lose them.
Exactly. You don't want to press too hard and all that stuff. But they said, hey, the first night, they're like, this is the most people we've ever seen here. So I was like, fantastic. Let's go. So if you want to run it with your keyboard guy, we'd love to have you.
Yeah, I would love to do it.
Yeah, so we'll talk more about it. And thank you so much for coming out here.
Thank you. Thanks for the coffee. Thanks for the nice presentation. It gets an A++.
A++ from Todd Glass. I can retire now. So thank you.